No one in Port Charles expected the truth about Delilah Wilson to be this dangerous. Because the deeper people dig into her past, the more it begins to look like she wasn't just a mysterious visitor to town. She may have been running from something. Or worse, running towards someone. And if the rumors are true, that someone could be Jenz Sidwell, one of the most feared and unpredictable men connected to Port Charles. And if that connection is real, then Delilah's story may not just be tragic. It could be explosive. Because the search for Delilah's family is now underway. And every new clue is raising a question that no one in Port Charles is ready to answer. What if Delilah Wilson wasn't just a stranger passing through town? What if she was secretly connected to one of the most dangerous families in the entire city? Right now, the truth about Delilah's past is still buried under layers of mystery. But General Hospital fans already know something important about Jenz Sidwell. He has a son, Marco Rios, and that relationship alone has been complicated enough. Marco and Sidwell spent years estranged from each other before eventually reconnecting. Their history is messy, emotional, and full of unresolved tension. But what if Marco was Sidwell's only child? What if there was another one? A daughter that no one ever knew about? That possibility is starting to look more and more real. Because when you start looking closely at Delilah Wilson's past, there are too many strange coincidences to ignore. Think about it. Delilah suddenly arrived in Port Charles. She seemed nervous, cautious, like someone who was watching over her shoulder. And now that she's gone, the mystery surrounding her life has only grown deeper. The big question is simple. Why did she come to Port Charles in the first place? For someone with no clear connections to the city, her arrival here makes very little sense. Unless she was coming to see someone powerful, someone dangerous, someone like Jenz Sidwell. Now imagine this possibility. Years ago, Sidwell may have gotten a woman pregnant. But what if he never knew the child existed? That wouldn't be impossible. In fact, it would make perfect sense. Sidwell is not exactly known for his stable or peaceful relationships. The kind of man he is, the kind of life he lives. It would be very easy for a woman to decide that the safest choice was to keep a pregnancy secret. Especially if she believed Sidwell could bring danger into her child's life. So imagine Delilah growing up never knowing her father. Or perhaps knowing the truth, but being told to stay far away from him. That kind of secret could shape an entire life. And it might explain something else about Delilah. Her fear, her caution, and the way she seemed like someone carrying a heavy burden. But there's another possibility here too. And this one might be even more dangerous. What if Sidwell actually did know that Delilah was his daughter? What if he knew the truth all along, but simply never had much of a relationship with her? That wouldn't be the first time Sidwell has kept family at a distance. After all, we already know he spent years separated from Marco before reconnecting. Family bonds have never been simple where Sidwell is concerned. So it's entirely possible Delilah grew up knowing exactly who her father was. But maybe she never felt like she could truly rely on him. Until something happened. Because one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Delilah was in trouble. Real trouble. The kind of trouble that makes a person desperate. Desperate enough to seek help from someone they may have spent their whole life avoiding. And if Delilah suddenly realized she had nowhere else to turn, there's one man who might have been able to help her. Jenz Sidwell. Powerful, connected, and capable of solving problems in ways that most people in Port Charles would never dare to imagine. That could explain why Delilah suddenly showed up in town. Maybe she wasn't just passing through. Maybe she was looking for her father. Maybe she believed Sidwell was the only person who could protect her. But if that's the case, then another question becomes even more important. Did she actually find him? Or did something go terribly wrong before she got the chance? Because the clues surrounding Delilah's life are starting to paint an even stranger picture. When investigators looked through her belongings, they discovered something very interesting. A list of art galleries. Not just any galleries, but some of the most prestigious art locations in New York. Soho, Chelsea, places known for high-end art dealers and collectors. At first that detail didn't seem important. But now, it might be one of the biggest clues in the entire mystery. Because there's someone else in Port Charles with a serious connection to the art world. Ava Jeromes. Ava has been working closely with Jenz Sidwell lately, helping him acquire rare and valuable art pieces. And Ava has already made it clear that Sidwell owns a truly impressive collection. Paintings, sculptures, priceless works gathered from all over the world. Which raises an intriguing possibility. What if Delilah wasn't just connected to Sidwell through blood? What if she was also connected to him through art? Imagine this scenario. Delilah becomes an art dealer. She works with galleries in places like Soho and Chelsea. And over time, she starts selling pieces to a wealthy collector. A collector who has a growing reputation in the art world. Jenz Sidwell. What if those art purchases were never just business? What if they were something more personal? What if Sidwell was quietly buying Delilah's pieces as a way to reconnect with her? Or even as a way to keep tabs on her life? Because if Delilah really was his daughter, then Sidwell might have been watching her from a distance for years, helping her career, supporting her work, without anyone in Port Charles realizing the truth. But if that's the case, then Delilah's sudden appearance in town becomes even more significant. Because she may not have come here randomly. She may have come here intentionally. To confront her father. To ask for help. Or maybe to warn him. Because if Delilah was running from danger, then that danger might still be out there. And it might be coming straight toward Port Charles. But here where things become even more shocking. Because Delilah didn't come to Port Charles alone. She came with something even more important. Something that could change everything. A child. A little girl. And if the rumors are true, that little girl might be carrying one of the most dangerous last names imaginable. Sidwell. Which means if Delilah was truly Jenz Sidwell's daughter, then that baby would be his granddaughter. And that possibility could send shockwaves through Port Charles. Because Jenz Sidwell is not the kind of man who ignores family. Especially when it comes to legacy. If he discovers that Delilah was his child, and that she left behind a daughter, there's a very real chance he will want to claim that child. No matter what anyone else thinks. No matter who stands in his way. And that's where things could become truly terrifying. Because right now, two people are caring deeply about that little girl's. Brook Lynn and Harrison Chase. They may believe they are protecting the child. Keeping her safe. Giving her the love and stability she deserves. But if Sidwell learns the truth, their peaceful world could collapse overnight. Because a man like Sidwell does not ask permission. He takes what he believes belongs to him. And if that baby is truly his granddaughter, then Brook Lynn and Chase may soon find themselves in a battle they never expected. A battle against a man who controls power, money, and influence. A man who always gets what he wants. And the most frightening part, Sidwell may already be getting closer to the truth. Closer to discovering exactly who Delilah Wilson really was. And once he does, Port Charles may never be the same again. But the real question is this. If Sidwell finds out that baby is his granddaughter, will he try to protect her? Or will he pull her into the same dangerous world that has already destroyed so many lives? Because if history tells us anything about Jenz Sidwell, it's that his love can be just as dangerous as his enemies. And that may be the biggest threat of all. But what happens when the truth finally comes out? And how far will Sidwell go to claim what he believes is his? That's where this story takes an even darker turn. Because the fight for this child may just be beginning. And the next move Sidwell makes could change everything. But what happens next may be even more shocking. Because if the theory about Delilah Wilson is true, then the secret she carried to Port Charles didn't die with her. It's still here. And it's growing more dangerous with every passing day. Right now, Brook Lynn and Harrison Chase believe they are doing the right thing. They believe they are protecting an innocent child, giving that little girl a safe home, a stable future, a chance to grow up surrounded by love instead of chaos. But what they may not realize is that the child they are trying so hard to protect might already be at the center of something much bigger. Because if Delilah really was Jenz Sidwell's daughter, then that baby isn't just a child. She's Sidwell's granddaughter. And if there is one thing men like Sidwell care deeply about, it's legacy. Powerful men build empires, but they also build families that carry those empires forward. And the moment Sidwell realizes that he may have a granddaughter in Port Charles, everything could change. Because Sidwell is not known for letting people stand between him and what he wants. And if he believes that baby belongs in his world, he may decide to take action. The scary part is that Sidwell already has resources everywhere. Money, connections, influence that stretches far beyond Port Charles. If he decides to start digging into Delilah's past, the truth may not stay hidden for long. One name, one document, one tiny clue. That's all it might take. And once Sidwell connects the dots, Brook Lynn and Chase may suddenly find themselves facing the fight of their lives. But the situation could become even more complicated because of one unexpected factor. Ava Jerome's. Ava's involvement with Sidwell has already raised eyebrows. She's been helping him acquire new art pieces, traveling in the same circles, sharing business interests. And Ava has never been someone who avoids complicated situations. In fact, she often walks straight into them. So imagine what might happen if Ava starts piecing things together before anyone else does. Ava is smart, observant, and extremely good at spotting opportunities. If she begins to suspect that Delilah had a deeper connection to Sidwell, she might start asking questions that lead her straight to the truth. And once Ava realizes that the baby in Port Charles might be Sidwell's granddaughter, she could find herself holding a very dangerous secret. The question then becomes, what will Ava do with that information? Will she keep it quiet? Will she warn Brook Lynn and Chase? Or will she use the truth as leverage with Sidwell? Because Ava Jerome has never been afraid to play a risky game when the stakes are high. And this situation could be the ultimate high-stakes gamble. But the danger surrounding this story may go even deeper. Because if Delilah came to Port Charles asking Sidwell for help, then someone else may have been chasing her. Someone powerful. Someone dangerous enough to make her desperate. Which means the mystery of Delilah's past may not be over yet. There could still be enemies out there. People who know exactly who Delilah was. People who may also know about her child. And if those enemies start searching for the same baby Sidwell may soon be looking for, Port Charles could become the center of a very dangerous storm. Because suddenly, this innocent little girl wouldn't just be part of a family secret. She could become a target, a pawn, or even the key to a much larger power struggle. That possibility alone could send Brook Lynn and Chase into full panic mode. They may soon realize that protecting this child won't just require love and patience. It may require strategy, allies, and maybe even taking on enemies they never imagined facing. And if Sidwell decides he wants to claim his granddaughter, there's no telling how far he might go. Would he try to negotiate? Would he demand custody? Or would he simply use his influence to force the situation his way? History tells us that Sidwell is not the kind of man who waits politely. When he wants something, he moves fast, and once he starts moving, it can be almost impossible to stop him. Which raises one final terrifying possibility. What if Sidwell already knows? What if Delilah actually did meet with him before everything happened? What if he already discovered the truth and has been quietly watching events unfold in Port Charles ever since? If that's the case, then Brook Lynn and Chase may already be under his radar. Their lives, their home, their every moves. And if Sidwell decides the time has come to claim what he believes belongs to him, that moment could arrive when they least expect it. That's why the mystery surrounding Delilah Wilson may end up becoming one of the most explosive storylines in Port Charles. Because the deeper this secret goes, the more people it could affect. Brook Lynn's, Chase, Arthur, Marco, and of course, Jenz Sidwell himself. But now the biggest question remains. If Sidwell discovers that the baby is truly his granddaughter, will he try to protect her? Or will he pull her into the same dangerous world that has already created so many enemies? Because in Port Charles, family ties can be powerful, but they can also be incredibly dangerous. And sometimes, the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who bring the greatest risks into your life. So the real question is this. If the truth about Delilah finally comes out, will Sidwell become this child's protector? Or her biggest threat? And if he demands to take his granddaughter, should Brook Lynn and Chase fight him? Or run as far away from Port Charles as they possibly can? Because one thing is certain. The moment this secret explodes into the open, nothing in Port Charles will ever be the same again. But now we want to hear from you. Do you think Delilah Wilson was secretly Jenz Sidwell's daughter? And if Sidwell finds out that baby is his granddaughter, do you think he will try to protect her? Or try to take her away from Brook Lynn and Chase? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy daily General Hospital spoilers, theories, and deep story breakdowns like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next Port Charles twist. Because with secrets like this hiding beneath the surface, the drama in General Hospital may just be getting started. And you won't want to miss what happens next.